How about that? All right, is it just me? Because looks like I'm not getting any. Okay. All right. Just me. Okay. So let's. So it looks like it is just me. Let's see if I can fix that. Okay, how about now?
Can you hear us now?
Testing, testing.
Yes, no, maybe.
I'm going to say a word starting with N. If you can hear it, the channel will be taken down.
If you can hear it, enjoy it while it lasts.
High stakes sound test.
Can you hear me coming in probably fairly hot at the moment due to my proximity of the microphone?
The 14 words shall begin in 5.
Okay, it sounds like they can hear us.
Okay.
Okay. So, yes.
So now that we have a proper show, welcome to Minions of the Zoom Night Show in 1397. Again, with me is... God damn it. Minions, Terry Diamantis.
Hey, everyone.
Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
And traveling exhibit, Frosted Glass.
I'm a traveling exhibit, apparently.
Yes. And I just dropped my phone. Okay.
How are all of you doing tonight?
Not too bad. It's good to be off work and doing nothing. So.
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm same as always.
That's good to hear.
I'm fine.
Still waiting for my winning lottery ticket to come in.
Yeah.
So.
Just need to do what I did. Just have rich relatives. And then have them die.
Though there is the saying of easy come, easy go, which is always an issue.
Well, I mean, according to my financial advisor, it'll last until after I'm dead. So after I'm dead, it can disappear as fast as it wants, but I won't care anymore.
So you're the maintain generation rather than the squander generation.
Well, I'm not an idiot. I want to keep... If I have money, I want to keep having money, because not having money sucks. If you've previously had money and you now have to adjust to a much more frugal lifestyle.
Yep. For those who don't know, there's a triplet of generations that tend to happen. You have the gain, you have the maintain, and then you have the squander. So, in the US at least, it's less so the case in other nations. Like, the UK has a massive proportion of their fantastically wealthy have been fantastically wealthy since about 1066. Surprising that, given the monarchy, right? But, yeah, there's... In the US, you have the gain, maintain, and then squander. So, the vast majority of people that, by the third generation, have gained wealth, end up absolutely pissing it away. So, first generation gains it, second generation ends up maintaining it, but not really growing it, and third generation just pisses it into the drain.
That's actually the setup to the British version of the Bedazzled movie, where Dudley Moore's character, like the devil, as part of his taunting, is like going through his family history and all the fabulously wealthy people that have been in it, and then like a few generations before he was born, one of them just squandered it all, and then Dudley Moore's like, well, where does that leave me? And he was like, completely broken, about to hang yourself. Why?
I haven't seen the original version. Is it much better than the original?
So much better than the shitty Brendan Fraser version. Like, I was actually mad at the movie for changing the ending to the shit that they changed it to.
I've only seen a little of the Brendan Fraser one.
Yeah,
But don't watch any more of it.
I can only tolerate so much of the Brendan Fraser one.
I haven't seen the original.
It tends towards the gain, maintain, and squander because the first generation knows how hard it was to gain. The second generation has been told how hard it is to gain. The third generation, well, they haven't had to worry about that for 2 generations, so fuck it.
Well, I think, because technically I'd be the third generation because I inherited it from my grandfather. It's just that my dad was already dead by the time I inherited it. So I guess
more like the 2.5 generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a massive thing, which is why it always drives me crazy when people say, well, generational wealth. And I'm going, the vast majority of people in the US, if they are in the upper class, they're in the upper class for 1 generation. The second generation slips a little bit, but mainly maintains it. The third generation, yeah, they're fucked. They're back at where the first generation started, because gain, maintain, and squander.
But also on top of that, just in general, people tend to squander windfalls. Like people who win the lottery usually aren't rich for very long.
Yeah, it's the whole mentality of easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
Which is kind of part and parcel with the... Are you guys familiar with what the tragedy of the commons refers to?
I've heard the phrase, but I don't know the meaning behind it.
Is that anything like the tragedy of Darth Plagueis?
It is sadly nothing like the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. So, the tragedy of the commons is, in the Middle Ages, there were plots of land that were owned by individuals. There were plots of land that were assigned to serfs, and then there were plots of land that were decided to be in the commons. The commons meant that everyone owned in equal measure. Everyone could use that land. The problem with everyone owning and everyone using that land meant that everyone just absolutely squandered the fuck out of it.
Because no one felt responsible for it.
Exactly. So it comes to the idea of that which is owned in the common interest is maintained by no one and squandered by everyone. Is effectively the summation of the tragedy of the commons. So the English, in order to combat this idea, came up with the what's the exact term? I think it's the enclosures movement. I'm pretty sure it's the enclosures. It's something along those lines was the name of the act that was put in place, where if land was encircled, then it was owned by whoever encircled it. Owned by the family that encircled it. Let's phrase it that way. Because this was around the same time as... Are any of you familiar with entail and tail mail?
No.
So, you guys know common inheritance, right? Where it's passed to the children?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I think of when I think of inheritance.
Yep. So there was a specialized version of inheritance that was known as entail and tail mail. And entail and tail mail meant that the land would be held as a single unit until the first male heir of the family. Yes. Heir was the word that I was trying to say. Until the first male heir of the family. And then all of it would be given to that male heir. So this was something that rose during the mid to late Middle Ages, early Renaissance, where noble families would entail until male.
Okay.
Entail until male was the common way of referring to it. And it
And
would
they
be
did it just so that you'd have trouble saying it.
Yeah, it would be so that all the land that was owned by a noble family would be held as part and parcel until the first male heir of that family. It was a way of kind of grouping as much land as possibly could be under one male heir.
It's yeah, I don't know if you want me going into the details of why the ending for the British Bedazzled was so much better, but yeah, when I was watching the American version and I saw how it ended, I was like, oh, fuck this movie right off.
Yep, it's kind of like, have any of you seen the new version of Cinderella?
No.
No, but I saw
What, the cringy looking Amazon one?
Yeah, the cringy looking Amazon one is exactly the best way of
with the black guy in the dress.
Oh, God, I hate it already.
Does anyone happen to know one of the earliest industries that women could actually enter and be a major business owner of?
Prostitution?
Fashion?
Other than prostitution. Fashion. Exactly. You got it in one. Frosted glass.
Well, Terry, do you know why the black guy was in a dress?
No.
Because he's the fairy godmother.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Emphasis on fairy in that instance.
It sounds like it, yes.
But yeah, there's in the horrendous Amazon version of Cinderella, they tried to make it sound like in a feudal early cottage market culture that women couldn't enter fashion, which is absolutely baffling because the main source of industry that was in the early feudal era when it came to women was seamstressing.
See, when I hear the word seamstress, I immediately think of prostitution because of the Discworld series, where seamstress was a euphemism, and like you got some very confused people actually going to the prostitutes to get their clothes sewn.
Nice. Yeah, it was a common thing. It was the cottage industry of effectively textiles was almost entirely run and done by women. But for some reason, the fucking Amazon series decided that, you know, in our fantasy feudal society, we should have the profession that our protagonist is really desperately trying to enter into. One of the few professions that was almost entirely female. And we're going to make it sound as if that profession was entirely male. And not only are we going to do that, but we're also going to have it where the female royal is really trying to push for solar and wind-powered energy.
So, should we count our blessings that they didn't make Cinderella a trans woman and call the whole thing Cinderfella?
Didn't Jerry Lewis already beat you to that?
I think there was a movie called Cinderfella, yeah. But...
yeah, I think it was like a Jerry Lewis movie or something.
Oh, okay. I had no idea who was in it. I've heard that term before.
I can already hear in the distance, "Hey, lady!"
And I like how that their fantasy world is, really oppressive towards women. Meanwhile, you got like black nobles.
Yep.
It's like, is this place really progressive or is it really, antiquated?
Yeah, you
gotta
have
pick one.
a black queen in that series that was commonly accepted, while apparently in the textile industry, which again was one of the few industries during the late Middle Ages, early Renaissance, that was almost entirely female, was being determined as beyond woman's station.
Well, women are oppressed, so it makes sense.
That was effectively the logic that they were working with, that women were oppressed throughout all points in history. So even when the market was entirely female, it must clearly be an oppressed market.
Of course, yeah.
Let's say my wife is trying to get me into watching Bridgerton on Netflix, which is the exact same thing. It's British feudal shit that has a bunch of
Wokeness mixed in.
Yeah, like the Queen's black.
Oh, is this one of the series where you guys are all familiar with the what was the doxy that Henry VIII ended up marrying?
The Tudors.
It was the female, unbelievably white woman that Henry VIII ended up marrying that they cast as a black woman.
Was it Anne Boleyn?
Yes, Anne Boleyn.
Oh.
It was, in fact, Anne Boleyn. They had a series that was about Anne Boleyn. Who, have any of you seen pictures of Anne Boleyn?
Yes. Well, portraits. I haven't seen, like, photos or anything.
Last time I saw her, they took a little off the top.
Photos. Anne Boleyn is one of the most shockingly white women that you can possibly imagine. She is borderline albino in how pale her skin is.
Yes.
And they cast effectively a blue-black Nubian in that role.
Maybe that woman was only playing her shadow. Was there, like, another white woman playing the actual Anne Boleyn?
Sadly, there was not. There was just the blue-black woman that was playing Anne Boleyn.
That's a good one,
Is this one of those things where they race swap everyone except for the bad guys for some reason?
Oh no, this was one of the ones where they race swap just one character, and that one character is not the ideal casting except for their race. I've mentioned this before. You guys have all seen the absolutely horrendous but also fantastic movie Daredevil, right?
Yes.
The Ben Affleck one?
Yes, the Ben Affleck one.
Yeah, that's super cheesy mid-2000s superhero movie.
Yep, where everyone is miscast except for one character, and they cast the best motherfucker possible for that role. And of course, the one role that I'm referring to is
Kingpin.
Who?
Kingpin. He's like a crime lord.
Yeah, Kingpin is a crime lord in the... It's Marvel for Daredevil, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a crime lord in the Marvel universe that is meant to be like 350 pounds of solid fucking muscle. So,
and bald.
Yes, and tremendously bald. Just absolutely blinding in bright sunlight bald.
I only know the character because there was a board game called Legendary, a Marvel deck building game, and Kingpin is in it. And so I've seen what the character looks like. I don't know anything about him as an actual character though.
Yeah,
the same character was in the Daredevil series, played by what's the guy's name?
The guy from SVU.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes.
Criminal Intent.
So
yeah. And he did a great job, too.
Oh, it's Criminal Intent rather than SVU? I thought it was SVU. But
it definitely wasn't SVU.
SVU is the rape one.
Oh, yes. So it was Criminal Intent. The character that was modeled after Sherlock Holmes. That guy was the one that was cast in the series. But in the movie, they cast Michael Clark Duncan. Do all of you remember what Michael Clark Duncan looked like?
Yes.
He's a massive...
A brick shit house of just solid fucking muscle.
If I'm thinking of the right guy, he was in that Stephen King movie where he had like healing powers that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah. and Armageddon.
Which I haven't seen yet.
He was also in The Scorpion King, and in one of the scenes he ended up just completely bashing flat the Rock's nose. In real life, not just in the scene, because he had mixed up the choreography, and when he was supposed to throw one punch, he threw another one, and just knocked the Rock completely fucking flat with the blow.
That sounds pretty funny.
Oh yeah, the dude was a brick shit house. He was this enormous hulking figure, and one of the other movies that he was in was, of course, he was Lenny in the Green Mile, if I remember correctly. That is correct,
yes.
right?
Yeah. That's the one I was trying to think of, where he had the healing powers.
Yep, where he had his mouse George.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just this absolute fucking mountain of a man. And he was cast as the Kingpin. The only aspect that he did not fit was the Kingpin was damn near albino in the comics, and he was as black as night. But other than being as black as night, he had the build, he had the voice, and he had the right sort of cadence to his character, where it made his character sound intelligent, but not putting on airs while being intelligent.
That's a fine line to walk. It's very easy to get wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and it's not like it's not like the movie takes place, in the 1800s or something, so it's not illogical for a black guy to be a crime boss.
Yep,
yeah.
It was damn near perfect casting. So people, when they first heard about it, went, well, Kingpin's supposed to be white. Then they saw the movie and they went, okay, no. Michael Clark Duncan is the fucking Kingpin. Everyone else, horrendously miscast. Michael Clark Duncan, fucking amazing.
Still couldn't carry the movie.
Yes, couldn't carry the movie because everyone else was miscast. I mean, they had... Who was it?
Plus, it was just shitty directing.
It was shitty directing, and then they had just everyone else was horrendously miscast because, as you already said, they had Ben Affleck as Daredevil, which, no, he doesn't fit as Daredevil. Then they had, which actor was it that was Bullseye?
Colin Farrell.
Yes, Colin Farrell. I always want to confuse Colin Farrell and Colin Firth because they have very similar names, but they're very different actors.
With very different accents.
Yes.
Sort of like how everyone gets Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton mixed up.
Yeah. Bill Pullman, Bill Paxton also come mixed up because they just have very similar names.
Yeah.
And for some fucking reason, there's also a confusion between Ray Fiennes and what's the
Michael Jackson. Oh wait,
no, he's on the.
If you say Ray Romano, I will crack up laughing.
It's Ray Fiennes and the actor from Taken, and I can't remember his name.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson, yes. For some reason, there's a mix-up between Ray Fiennes and Liam Neeson because they're both tremendously tall, and that is the only thing that they have in common.
I would have loved to have seen Ray Romano play the Nazi in Schindler's List.
That would have been hilarious.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, apparently, according to Liam Neeson, Ray Fiennes and him get confused constantly, so he will often hear someone come up and like, oh my god, can I take a picture with you? And they'll take a picture and they'll let drop that they're thinking that he's Ray Fiennes, so he'll just sign whatever he's supposed to sign as Ray Fiennes rather than Liam Neeson.
But Eric Idle actually does the opposite. Like, if he realizes that someone thinks he's Michael Palin, he will just deliberately be rude to them so that they get a negative impression of Michael Palin. Because he's trying to undermine his image as this really nice guy.
Yeah, whereas Ray Fiennes and Liam Neeson, they both love each other, so they will bullshit to act like they're the other one whenever someone confuses them.
I think Eric Idle and Michael Palin love each other too. It's just that they're kind of just trolling each other.
Yeah. With Ray Fiennes and Liam Neeson, though, it is just they are tall Irishmen. And that is the only similarity that they have in common.
And I like how Ray Fiennes had been like typecast as oppressor of Jews because he's the Nazi in Schindler's List and he's Pharaoh in Prince of Egypt.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Whereas Liam Neeson is just the badass in every role that he plays.
He's Darkman.
Yeah, he's Darkman. He's. Have any of you seen? It's goddamn. What's the name of the movie where he's the plowman?
It's the Cold Pursuit.
Yes, Cold Pursuit. Which have all of you seen Cold Pursuit?
No, I don't watch a lot of movies.
I've seen it.
I recommend seeing Cold Pursuit. Cold Pursuit is a darkly hilarious action movie.
Cool.
Yeah, it doesn't really take itself seriously like Taken.
Yeah, not at all. To the point where every time someone dies, it pops up a black screen with their name in white text, followed by their religious affiliation. So there are times where you're going, oh, that character's dead, and the screen doesn't pop up, so we'll go on to another scene, and then halfway through the other scene, that screen will just pop up with that character's name and that religious affiliation.
So his next one, he'll just be like Ralph Fiennes, German.
Yeah, Ralph Fiennes. Ray Fiennes is normally cast as a German or some other just effectively white supremacist. But he's an amazing actor. He just gets typecast into that position, whereas Liam Neeson is typecast into just badass, from Cold Pursuit to Taken, of course. And have any of you seen Mike Collins?
Nope.
I have seen the trailer.
So Mike Collins is about the Southern Irish Rebellion. And it starts in Easter 1916 with the Post Office Rebellion of the Irish Republic. And it follows along Michael Collins, who was one of the major figures, but he was the only major figure of the Irish Rebellion that no one knew what the fuck this man looked like. So during the Easter Rebellion, every one of the officers of the Irish Revolutionary Guard, effectively, the Irish Republic, was executed, except for two members. One of them was De Valera, who had, I think, Irish, French, and American citizenship all at the same fucking time somehow. So he got saved by being French and American. And then Mike Collins, who just no one knew what the fuck this man looked like, so they didn't think that he was him. Then it follows Mike Collins around during the actual rebellion. Because Mike Collins was the one who completely masterminded the rebellion. He came up with who they would try to turn, how they would try to turn them, where they would attack, when they would attack. And he was known as a bit of master of disguise, to the point where there's a song, Mike Collins, that completely outlines his efforts during the Irish Rebellion. He ended up bringing the English to the table and then going to negotiate the treaty between the English and the Irish that allowed for the Southern Irish to completely gain independence, and allowed an option for the Northern Irish to gain independence if they so chose. But the thing was that De Valera sold that as almost treason against Ireland, and ultimately had Mike Collins assassinated, which makes him an absolute fucking git for that, because Mike Collins was just an absolute fucking badass. He was the information officer of the Irish Republic before the Irish Republic was the Irish Republic. And due to that, he just kept absolute fucking secrecy. The only thing that people knew about him was he was Irish Catholic and he was fucking tall. And by fucking tall, I mean he was like 6'4" plus.
I just got a message saying that the call will end in 10 minutes, I don't know.
I guess that it is ending in 10 minutes. That's
That's rather peculiar.
Yeah, that's why I don't use Hangouts anymore, because they got like a 1 hour limit now.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I used it, I just, without even like streaming it, like it never had a time limit on it. But yeah, this is weird.
Yeah, because your gaming stream went for over an hour, and I specifically pointed it out that, hey, stream hasn't ended yet, because I knew that Meat has a hour hard cap on streaming.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Wait, at some point, according to Check Your Logic, I said the daughter of Henry VIII? Are you talking about this stream? I don't think I've bitched and moaned about the children of Henry VIII, but fuck the children of Henry VIII. They fucking destroyed the Bodleian Library until Bodley ended up revived.
I don't think you did mention the children. You only mentioned Anne Boleyn.
Yeah. I didn't think I mentioned the daughter of Henry VIII.
And if Anne Boleyn was one of his children, that chapter of history gets a lot more disgusting.
Yeah, suddenly he's committing incest. I mentioned one of the wives of Henry VIII. But yeah, they children of Henry VIII, just to make Check Your Logic post-talk correct in this, were absolute fucking gets. Are you guys familiar with what the Bodleian Library is?
No.
No.
So, the Bodleian Library is the name of the Oxford Library. And the Oxford Library is one of the oldest run university libraries in existence. Because it started somewhere in the early, I want to say like 11, maybe 1200s.
Wow.
And it received donations from a ridiculous number of nobles, including one of the members of the royal family of the time. He wasn't the heir, he was one of the lesser children, but he was a major proponent of writing and education. So he sent his entire collection, which was over 300 manuscripts. That might not sound like a lot to many people, but at the time, a single manuscript was worth more than a fucking castle.
Wow. Shit.
And he sent over 300 manuscripts to the library at the time.
Nice.
When Henry VIII's children came in, everyone knows that first Henry VIII was succeeded by his son, right?
I mean, I would have assumed.
Yeah, so he had a son. His son was very short-lived. His son came into power and went, "You have a fantastic library at Oxford. It's a shame that all these books were written by Catholics.
Oh, fuck.
Burn them."
Wow.
So the Bodleian Library was absolutely destroyed under that first reign. But during his reign, he ensured that a large number of books from Protestants were brought to the library. He then passed away because he was a very sickly man. And his sister came to the fore.
Oh, Mary?
Yes, Mary. His sister was Mary, and Mary went, "You have a very beautiful library. It's a shame that all these books were written by Protestants." Because Mary, of course, was the Catholic daughter.
Yeah, she was the Chad Catholic who burned Protestants at the stake.
Yep, so she came in and said it's a shame that all these books were written by Catholics. Or were written by Protestants, sorry. and that your staffing is currently Protestant.
Okay, so I sent backup links to you guys.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. So we will be swapping over once this one dies.
Yep.
And
anyway,
did you send one to me? Because I just...
it's on your Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Okay. I'll pull up Twitter then. But his daughter Mary came in, said it's a shame that all of these were written by Catholics. Or by Protestants at this point. It's a shame that all of these were written by Protestants, and that you have Protestant staffing. Burn them. So she resulted in the burning of the books that were in the Bodleian that had been given during her brother's reign, as well as the majority of the Protestant staffing that had arisen during her brother's reign. So she ruled for a while. And then after she ruled for a while, her sister came in. Queen Victoria. And Queen Victoria came to the Oxford Library and went, it's a shame that all these books were written by Catholics. Burn them and 4 of your Catholic staff.
Jesus.
So, once again, Oxford burned all of its resources and 4 of its Catholic staffing.
Probably one of the few times back then where you felt safer being a Jew.
Yep. So the response was the library was effectively dead at this point because it had just burned its resources 3 fucking times in a row. Had killed its staff twice. One of them, all of its Catholic staffing. One of them, all of its Protestant staffing. One of them, 4 of its Catholic staffing. So who the fuck wants to work at the library where they keep on getting fucking burned at the stake in the middle of the town square?
It's like, I don't mind working here, but the mass execution of people is kind of,
Yeah, bit worrying, right? You don't really want to work at the place.
With more security. I want job security.
the benefits are good, but the executions are kind of
yeah, the executions wear on people, right? So,
all right.
During Victoria's reign, there was a man who was her effectively chief spy master as well as chief diplomat. Interesting combination, that, right? So he would go to various areas, negotiate the deals, as well as, oh yeah, if you piss me off, I'll have you fucking murdered.
Oh wait, was that Cromwell?
That was Bodley.
Oh,
Cromwell was the parliamentarian. And that was during the War of the Roses that ended with Cromwell's reign. But the spymaster, Bodley, had remembered visiting the Oxford Library in his youth and absolutely loved the Oxford Library because the sheer number of volumes and manuscripts, including these beautiful illuminations, were just absolutely gobsmacking. So he went back to the Oxford Library when he was the spymaster / chief diplomat of Victoria. And he realized, this place has been turned to fucking shit. The shelves are all bare. The benches where you used to be able to read were exposed to the sun because the roofs had collapsed.
And someone took a shit in the urinal.
Effectively, it was the New York Metro of libraries. Or
see the video of that guy shitting in that bucket.
Yeah, it was perhaps even worse than the New York Metro. It might have been the San Francisco City street of libraries at that point.
Timer is going to about 15 seconds, so let's see what happens.
Yep, and I have already joined into the next one when you have to.
Up. There it goes. All right, so let's change that out.
There we go. We're pulled in.
All right. Well,
So
that's a load of bullshit. So let me get that fixed while we're talking again.
yeah, it was. The shelves were moldering. What books remained were just moldy, decrepit wrecks of what was once the greatest library in all of Europe, complete with illuminated manuscripts from the fucking descendants of William the goddamn Conqueror. So he decided that he would dump his fantastic wealth into revitalizing the library. And not only
something to burn.
Not only did he decide that he would dump his fantastic wealth from being the chief spy master and diplomat of the United Kingdom, but he would dump the wealth of everyone that he knew at the time into this effort. So he went to all of the people that he had as contacts and went, it would be in your best interest to dump your wealth into funding this library. And again, this man was the spy master, diplomat, and as part of being the spy master, he was handling all the shady business. So he was also the master assassin of Queen Victoria. Who the fuck is going to say, you know, I'm not going to dump my money into this, Bodley. I know that you have the ability to assassinate fucking anyone you so desire, but fuck that. I'm going to take my chances.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Everyone loves a good gamble.
Yeah, the answer is fucking no one would say that to Bodley. Because he made it very clear while being very oblique about it. And making it sound like, yeah, it's just a charitable donation, but if you don't, I'll fucking murder you in your sleep. And also your entire family. I will purge your entire household if I need. So everyone started donating in mass to the Bodleian Library. Which revitalized the Bodleian Library to the point that it is now, where it is the largest library, second only to the Library of Congress, which is maintained by much the same mechanisms of the US government going to every single publisher in the world and going, you will give us a copy of your book. And they go, yes, we will give you a copy of our book.
It reminds me of Blackadder, where I learned that cold is God's way of telling you to burn more Catholics.
Nice. That's Blackadder the First, right?
Second.
Oh, second, yes. I do love how there's Blackadder the First, the second, the third, and the fourth. It goes up to fourth, right?
Yeah, there's 4. I didn't like the fourth one nearly as much. I think seasons 2 and 3 were where it was good. Season 1 was okay. Season 2 and 3 were great. Season 4 kind of dipped for me a bit.
Yeah, season 4 was a bit of a dip, but it had some amazing moments because it was World War I in season 4, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And the season finale, which was the series finale. Oh my fucking god, that was amazing.
That is one of the best endings for any TV show ever. That was really brilliantly done.
Yeah. And season 1 was good. I mean, fucking Brian Blessed.
Yeah. I liked season 1.
Yes.
I liked season 1, but it's not indicative of the rest of the show. So if
Yeah.
you like season 1, you might be disappointed by the rest of the show. And if you don't like season 1, I would say give the other seasons a try. You might like them more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other seasons were far more Rowan Atkinson heavy.
Yes.
The first season had a lot more of the supporting cast, like Brian Blessed and
Stephen East.
Yep.
Hugh Laurie.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't think Hugh Laurie was in season 1.
Hugh Laurie, I think, came in
Season 3.
3?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he came in about the same time as Stephen Fry, because they were
Well, Stephen Fry was
close
definitely
buddies.
no. So Stephen Fry was in season 2. Hugh Laurie was in the final episode of season 2 as the bad guy, and then he was like a regular cast member in season 3 as Prince George.
And then he was also a solid cast member in season 4, if I remember.
Yes, he was Lieutenant George.
Yep. And that was about the same time as a little of Fry and Laurie.
Yes, a little bit of Fry and Laurie. It was a good show.
Oh, yeah. And I still find it hilarious that their house is apparently just being passed down to comedic duo after comedic duo.
Yes, you've told me this before.
Yeah, because it was Fry and Laurie owned the house, and then it went to... Who was the second group? I always forget the second group. It was their 2 builders on the home, and then they became a comedic duo that was really well known, and then the third grouping that it was to the 2 main members of the Mighty Boosh.
Yeah, I don't remember like the individual teams. I just know you've told me it was passed from like comedy group to comedy group, which is pretty funny.
Which is fucking hilarious.
And the problem is, I just did a search on Fry and Laurie House, and it came up with results for the TV show House.
Ah. Yeah. It was in... They had I think it was reunion special, effectively, where it was Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry.
Mm-hmm.
They come back together, and there's a documentary-style thing about their reunion, because they were best friends for the longest period of time. And then their careers just deviated, but they remained friends that were in contact.
Yeah.
And then they had a reunion of Fry and Laurie where they just started immediately falling back into the old gags and old riffs that they did in that show.
They did work very well together. They were a good team.
Mm-hmm. Both of them absolutely fucking hilarious.
Well, yeah.
I haven't seen much of that show, but I liked them both in Blackadder.
Yeah.
Like I said, Fry and Laurie was a contemporary of Blackadder, the seasons that they were on a Blackadder.
I've seen some classic British comedy, but not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Red Dwarf is another one where, at least at the start, it was really, really good. And then after the whole thing with Craig Charles getting accused of rape, he was innocent, or found innocent. I can't say that he was innocent. He was found innocent. And they tried to bring the show back, and it was just shit. Everything after season 6 was utter crap.
It's kind of like Mystery Science Theater.
Lister.
Which character was accused? The main character?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 in that way, where Mystery Science Theater 3000, while it was on air, fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Riff Tracks was really good, which was their follow-up to Mystery Science Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tried to revive Mystery Science Theater 3000, and it just didn't hit the same way.
Was that the one with Felicia Day?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the one with Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt.
I hate it already.
They haven't really captured the same style of humor.
Yeah,
You know, like they're too like hyper, and the jokes go on way too long. Like usually the best jokes in classic MST were, you know, just really quick quips. You know.
Yeah, and that was the same as in riff tracks, which is the confusing part, because they have maintained riff tracks throughout, and riff tracks is the spiritual successor of MST 3K.
Yes, it is.
But then they revived MST 3K, and it just well, the only thing that I can imagine is that it was the influence of Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day.
I hate both of them.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt is just a censorious prick when he's not doing his traditional comedy bits.
Mm-hmm. And Felicia Day is just annoying. Like she just really irritates me. Just everything about her is just annoying.
Felicia Day was fairly decent in the, what is it, Dr. Horrible sing-along blog? Oh,
Yeah, she was okay in that. She wasn't too bad in that one.
yeah. But she again goes censorious so fucking often that it becomes just absolutely fucking grating, and you can't stand the woman.
I don't think the Mads are that bad. I think it's mostly the bots who aren't as good.
So
It's
you
like,
like Crow
like the-
and Tom
Yeah,
Servo?
Crone, Servo, and Gypsy. Because
But the thing-
like the Mads aren't bad, and Jonah, I think his name is.
Jonah Ray.
I could see him be. Yeah, I could like he has the feel of a MST host, where he's like just the sort of like affable, dopey character.
True, but the
And-
thing is that, have you watched Riff Tracks?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Riff Tracks, I feel, is entirely in the same venue, and there's no real slacking of the two voices of Crow and Tom Servo when it comes to Riff Tracks, in my opinion. Whereas when it came to the revitalized MST3K, yeah, they kind of fell flat, but because they were so good in riff tracks and they maintain being so good in riff tracks, it feels like it has to be someone else rather than just them that's the problem.
Well, I haven't seen the new one because I heard Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day were in it. And like, that's enough for me to never see it.
Yeah,
Just out of the gate.
It's better than like 95% of the riff programs, but that's just because the market has been completely inundated.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not as good as the original series.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And it isn't as good as Riff Tracks either. Which Riff Tracks I would put right up there with the original series.
Yes, me too. I'd actually say I prefer Riff Tracks, if only because I find the movies that they do more interesting. Like with MST, I'm mostly watching for the comments like that the people are making, whereas with Riff Tracks, I can enjoy the bad movie and the comments. Like they tend to do things where it's bad enough to be entertaining rather than just a boring movie that they're making entertaining with their comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the MST3K, they had to wait until it was in the
Public domain.
Yeah, I prefer MST because I like them better when they're like playing their characters rather than just being themselves.
Fair enough.
Like I like Kevin Murphy as Servo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that like Crow has changed voice actors, so I mean
they've all changed at some point during the series.
Yeah, but hasn't Kevin Murphy been the voice of Servo basically the entire run except for like the very beginning?
except for the first season.
Yeah.
He joined the first episode of the second season.
So, like, I can understand associating Kevin Murphy with Servo because he basically has always been the character, except for the first season, which no one even pays attention to. Like, no one likes.
It's kind of like assigning the actor that was Q for
Desmond Llewellyn.
Yes, which everyone always has problems with his name because it's fucking Welsh, and Welsh is.
What's so hard about it? I'm assuming I said it reasonably close to correct.
Oh yeah, you did, which is far better than most people do because his surname begins with 3 L's, if I remember correctly. And
no, I think it's LLEWLLYN or something like that.
Okay, so he just has the double L rather than the triple L beginning of
Pretty
his name?
Pretty sure.
What, Llewellyn?
Yeah.
It was one of those names that a vast majority of, at least Americans, they will look at his surname and go, fuck if I know. I don't know how to pronounce 2 L's in a row.
Well, I mean, if I hadn't heard it pronounced, I probably wouldn't know how to say it exactly.
Yeah, technically the 2 L's in a row is Llewellyn rather than Llewellyn. But it's that weird sound that is almost completely absent from American English of Hlu.
I mean, I thought it was Llewellyn because the guy who plays Crichton, well, most famously plays Crichton in Red Dwarf, is Robert Llewellyn. And so when I saw his name in the credits, I thought it was Robert Llewellyn. And then I heard how to pronounce it. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I can understand that. Hey, I can understand how you get that pronunciation from those letters. It's not like Siobhan, where I'm like, how do you turn Sayabhan into Siobhan? That is a mystery.
Yep. But yeah, it's one of those weird names that, like I said, most Americans will look at and they'll just go, fuck if I know. And they'll just leave it be.
Well,
and
I noticed a lot of the time they won't even try to figure it out. They're just like, don't know, don't want to try, just too confusing. But if you actually like look at the letters and try to pronounce it, you'll get close. You might not get it right, but you get roughly in the ballpark.
Yeah, it's just that strange flu rather than Lu or which when you really press a American, most of the time they'll just lengthen the L sound because, well, there's 2 of them, so it's twice as long, right? But yeah, it is Desmond Llewellyn, which is the name of the actor, who was absolutely fucking brilliant. And I still say they should have retired Q when Llewellyn died.
Because, definitely. That replacing him was an insult.
Yeah, replacing him in the new movies was an insult. And they had already set the groundwork for having a different letter designation because I had John Cleese as, what was it, R?
Yes, yeah. I believe that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't even seen any of the Daniel Craig ones.
I tried to watch the first one and I didn't like it, so I stopped.
The Daniel Craig, they assigned someone else as Q, which was just fucking wrong.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, like I was like really into James Bond, like in, I don't know, middle school or something. But yeah, like the Daniel Craig ones just don't seem to have the same feel as, you know, James Bond.
Well, the first one was okay.
Less gadget.
Yeah, the first one was okay, but it just dipped from there.
And
then kept dipping.
He was in 17 of the Bond movies, if I remember correctly. I think it was 17, wasn't it?
I don't know the exact number, but a lot of them.
Because they did a Bond movie a year for the longest time, and I think he started in 93 when I was 3 years old. And he ended in 99, maybe 2000. So it was either 17 or 18 Bond movies.
The last one he was in was The World Is Not Enough. That was 99.
Yeah, so that would have been 17 exactly.
And what was his first one? Was it Goldfinger?
It was the second Bond movie that he was Q.
Oh, From Russia with Love. So that would have been 63, I think.
Let me quickly double check. And it was Dr. No was his... Wait, let me quickly double check.
Well, Dr. No would be 62, I think.
Pull it up. So, beginning in Guy Hamilton's Goldfinger, and in each movie thereafter, Major Rothran was often referred to as Q. So yes, it was Goldfinger that he first started appearing, which was 64? Right?
I think so.
64. And from 64 to 99, where it was it every year or was it was every 2 years, wasn't it? Every 2 years that he was
I mean, there was a gap between Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I think it was every 2 years was a Bond movie for the longest period of time, and then they interrupted that with Daniel Craig, and they made it every 3 or some shit. But for the longest period of time, it was every 2 years there was a Bond movie. And from the second Bond movie to the... what was it? Die Another Day? Was that the last Pierce Brosnan?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the second Bond movie to Die Another Day, he was Q. There was
Yeah, absolutely.
one other Q who wasn't even referred to as Q. He was Major Rothran. And then from the second movie on, he was referred to as Q, though it was... I think in the first one, he was Major Brothwind or Q. And then from that point on, he was just Q. And it was only in the very first movie that he was not Q. And then
I think replacing him was just an insult to him, well, to his legacy, because he was the character. They should have just given someone else a similar role where they're the one distributing the gadgets and just not called them Q.
Yeah, it was an absolute slap in the face. Also, the dude died in the most ridiculous manner for a man of his age. Do you guys remember how he died?
No.
Was it a car crash?
Yes, it was a high-end car crash. He died in a sports car when he missed a turn. Just absolutely smashed the shit out of the car that he was in. But it was this ridiculous high-end sports car, if I remember correct. So he died in the way that made the absolute most sense when it came to Q dying. Because there's a certain bit of logic to Q dying in a car crash.
Yeah. I think it would have been better if he accidentally clicked the pen that doubles as a machine gun, but he was facing the wrong way. If that was how the actor had died, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, he died in a head-on collision.
Mm-hmm. He's just playing with his pen, not really paying attention. He accidentally clicks it and ends up blowing himself away.
Let's see, does it mention the car that he died in? Because I remember it being a ridiculously high-end sports car that you're just going, what the fuck? He was holy shit! Because he died at the age of 85 or some shit.
Well, I just the only thing I remember from Die Another Day is an interview with Elton John saying that the Madonna's Bond song was an abortion.
Nice.
Sanguine, are you reading chat? Spud Gun has told you that it was a Renault Megane, or maybe pronouncing that wrong, that he died in.
Ah, okay. And I
Renault Megane?
for bringing that up.
There you go.
Majan?
A French car.
Some European crap.
That one was not a sports car. I was misremembering, apparently. I remember that he died in a head-on collision of some extravagance. But yeah, that is definitely not a sports car. It's kind of like the bastard child of a hot hatch and a SUV. Which is a hell of a combination, right?
I don't know cars, so I'll just assume that you are correct.
So
Sure.
Hot hatch, that is the one that most people think of when they think of a hot hatch, is of course the Mini Coupe is a hot hatchback.
Yeah, this means nothing to me. You're talking way over my head.
Quasimodo was a hot hatchback.
There you go.
Do you not know what a Mini Coupe looks like when it comes to sizing?
I don't know cars. I don't pay attention to them.
I know Mini Cooper, but just from the remake of the Italian Job.
Yep.
Well, I know there was Hanging with Mr. Cooper. There was that show.
Well, Hanging with Mini Cooper was... I don't think
There's
that's
the
going to
midget
work out.
version. That's when Monkey's in charge of the casting. That's Hanging with Mini Cooper.
That's one of the, speaking of riff tracks, that's one of the jokes I like from the Night of the Living Dead one, where one of the characters says, "Please, Mr. Cooper," and then one of them goes, "Won't you hang with us?"
Let me see if I can find a Mini Coupe with a scale. I'm just going to look for...
Yeah, they're really small, I know that.
Scale. Yeah, they are... So I, at one point, drove a Mini Coupe, and it was a ridiculous clown car when I was driving a Mini Coupe. For those who don't know, when I started the Minions, I was about 6'1", 300 pounds as a giant dwarf. I'm now substantially lighter. In fact, I'm almost 50 pounds lighter from when I started the Minions, and 70 pounds lighter from my heaviest after starting the Minions. I'm now at 255. But the Mini Coupe is a ridiculous clown car when you compare it to someone my size. But here, I'll use a Rowan Atkinson image as the for scale. Let's see, let me open that new window and then I'll share that after zooming in a bit.
I think they designed it like during a gas shortage or something like that, where they tried to make a really, car that was really light on gas usage.
It is just an absolute fucking go-kart of a car. There's no other way to think of it other than a go-kart once you drive it, because it will corner like an absolute son of a bitch. Just zips around a corner, no problem whatsoever. And, yeah, that's Rowan Atkinson. So Rowan Atkinson is not exactly a tall man.
No.
That is a Mini Coupe compared to Rowan Atkinson.
Okay.
So it is effectively a bastard of a Mini Coupe and an SUV, because it's more along the size of an SUV, but it's a small SUV, and it looks kind of like a Mini Coupe.
Rowan Atkinson is 5'11".
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So he's a solid 2 inches shorter than me.
181 centimeters.
Yeah, he's a solid 2 inches and probably half my width when it comes to shoulder, because I'm over 2 feet from shoulder to shoulder. I'm at the point where, when I was in high school and I went in for an MRI, you know the standard donut MRI?
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are 2 feet in diameter. I had to get a knee MRI. The doctor tried to feed me into the MRI machine. My legs were able to get in. My knuckles started bashing against the side of the machine. And they went, it's a good thing that your knee has to be MRI'd rather than your shoulder, because we'd have to send you to a vet if we had to do a shoulder MRI.
Yeah,
And by a vet, I don't mean the old soldier's vet. I mean the fucking MRI a horse vet.
Yeah, my last time in an MRI machine, it got to my arms, and I ended up like holding my arms up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Well, can you not do that?" And I'm like, "Do you want a picture of my spine or not?" Because my top half's not going to fit in here.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I was bashing my knuckles just down by my side. Hands completely open, not even bowling fists or anything, just caught straight on the knuckles when I was trying to be fed in. Because I am a giant dwarf. You take a Tolkien dwarf, you scale him up to 6'1", maintaining all the proportions from a Tolkien dwarf up to 6'1", and that's me.
It's quite an image.
Yeah. I'm at a scaling that most people are not used to. Considering I'm 6'1" with a 27-inch inseam.
So do you actually, are you a miner? Is that like your job? You go down into the mines and...
It would be rather
the mines of
fitting for my
Moria.
troglodyte mentalities, but no, currently I work in a lab.
Him and 7 of his friends sing hi ho.
There you go.
Oh, and Genty Maxi, absolutely. I was kind of crammed into the vehicle, and I had fun driving it. I was always somewhat hoping that someone would get pissed off and road rage at me while I was in that vehicle, just so that they would pull over after trying to force me onto the side, climb out of their car, and suddenly I'm having to unfold myself from the car, and just that look of, oh shit.
It's like
this.
like that scene in Police Academy with Bubba
Hightower?
Bubba Smith. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you listen here, you. Like,
yep. Yeah, it was hilarious to see me crammed in that car. I had fun driving it, but it was just ridiculous trying to picture me in that car. I have a 47-inch torso. So, for those who don't know, your inseam's on average about half your body height, which means that the rest of your body, other than your inseam, is about half your body height as well. So, at a 27-inch inseam, I have the legs of someone that is 4'6". I have the torso of someone 7'8". Just smash those two together. Oh yeah, I am an absolute fucking barrel of a man. Spud gun. When I was weightlifting, do any of you bench press or weightlift at all?
Fuck no.
Frosted,
Nope.
Johnny?
Not really.
Okay, so this might not mean much to you, but it might mean something to someone in chat. So, there's two main schools of weightlifting. There's for weightlifting, which is you bench press as much as you can to do 6 reps a set. Normally around 6 reps a set. Then there's what's known as endurance weightlifting, which the sets are about 50 reps a set, which means you push the bar up 50 times. I was doing 300 pounds endurance weightlifting, which meant that if I had tried to max out at the time that I was doing 300 pounds at 50 reps a set, I would have probably maxed out well north of 500 pounds bench.
All right.
So I know for a while when a friend of mine was trying to, because I have good legs. Well, I have somewhat good legs. Don't look at the knees. Everything else is okay.
My left knee's fucked beyond belief.
Yeah, I completely fucked my right knee, the most manly way possible, sledding.
Nice.
Actually, my friend clipped my leg out from under me, and I mean my knee was already messed up before that, but I didn't realize how bad it was until after he clipped my leg out from under me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had torn my ACL at the base, so they ended up having to replace that with a titanium rod. I took my lateral meniscus and bent it back into the joint, and my medial meniscus was just a deflated balloon.
I saw a stand-up comedian who said, "You know you're getting old when falling over isn't funny. Like if you fall over and people are worried and not laughing, you're getting old."
Nice. Yeah, I know I've mentioned how my ACL or how my left knee got fucked before on stream. Do you guys remember me saying that, or shall I go through it again?
I've forgotten the details. You've definitely told the story on streams before, though.
I'll say yes, I remember it.
Yeah, I fucked my knee to the point where I can't tell where my leg is below my knee. So you know how, like, when you move your arms, you can tell where they are in respect to the rest of your body?
Yes.
I can't with my lower leg. It is just a question mark in my...
Well, just take where your upper leg is and just assume it's below that.
Oh, that's effectively what I end up having to do. I have to kind of figure out, given how my upper leg is, where could my lower leg be? And I have to control for that. So when I was a correction officer at the prison that I worked at, have all of you seen Shawshank Redemption?
Oh, I think I actually have seen that one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know how the cells were all stacked up on top of each other, and there was the walk as well as the railing on the side, and then
Vaguely
just
remember that.
a plummet down to the flagstone. Flag is what we call the base level of any prison.
Okay.
Yeah, my prison was that old style. I worked in one of the oldest prisons in the United States. So it was all that style. I had to train my left leg to air towards the middle, because if it aired away from the middle, I would have probably stepped into blank air.
Ooh, that would be bad.
Yeah. So I had to train it to air towards the middle, and that was interesting.
I'm glad that wasn't me, because that sounds rather scary. To climb a ladder and have your leg not be where you think it is.
Yeah,
I don't like heights.
When I first messed up my leg, it was to the point where I would be walking and I would feel it dislocate.
Oh yeah, that kind of gammy leg feeling.
Yeah, like it would just go in a random direction, just would immediately bend.
Yep.
Whether it was most of the time it was either mostly to the right. So your knee would be kind of just jar there a little bit. There were a few times when I'd take a step and my knee would bend backwards.
Ooh.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I need to not do that again. Like,
yeah, this specific sort of injury, I won't go into the details of how it happened, but the specific sort was I had a 74% tear of the ACL. And for those who don't know, you have 3 main ligaments in your knee. You have the MCL, which is the medial lateral cruciate ligament. Then you have the LCL, you have the cruciate ligament. You have the LCL, the lateral cruciate ligament, and then you have the anterior cruciate ligament, which is the ACL. The ACL is the one that's in the middle of your knee, and it really controls where the fuck your knee goes. The other two kind of brace that. Yeah, I had a 74% tear of that major ligament in the middle of your knee.
Hey, Camel.
Oh. Hey.
Hello. So yeah, my knee. If you have that,
my
ACL,
corner smells like sadness and Auschwitz now.
Hey, nice. I told you. I gave you the beads.
Wait, if it smells like Auschwitz, does that mean it smells like sweet, sweet barbecue?
I don't know. Has Frost been cooking any long pig while I've been gone?
If by long pig you mean Jew.
Kosher long pig, still.
Oh, so how is everything on your end there, Camel? Short of executing any nurses?
It was only the one nurse. 2 receptionists, though. They nearly got it, too. Now,
so what did they do to earn your ire?
They were nurses.
They tried to stand between me and Nana Camel.
Ah.
I had to take her to the emergency room because she had a necrotic ulcer that had to be operated on last week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Who don't know, necrotic means rotting, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a habit of falling asleep setting up, and she pretty much developed a bed sore from it.
Yep.
Even though she was, active most of the time, when she was asleep, she was pretty much sleeping on that same exact spot, and it developed into an ulcer, and it became necrotic, and she had to have surgery on it last week. Well, the doctor who performed the surgery told us to look out for any fever, because that could be an indication of sepsis. So I've been changing her bandages, and I've been playing nurse for her. And she spiked a fever of 100.8 today, which he said, 101, but we weren't taking any chances. So got her to the hospital, went to go get her checked in, and they asked about her symptoms, which, told her, it's like, well, she's got a fever, she's got fatigue, and she's, had sweats and chills on and off. Which, any guesses what they immediately jumped to?
Gee, let me think.
Guessing it has something to do with the pandemic. given the fever, sweats, and chills.
So, the funny thing is, like, they didn't even check her temperature at the reception desk, like they have at other points in the hospital. Didn't check mine either. They didn't give us any indication that we were, not that. They had us go wait in the car in the parking lot until a nurse was available to see her. So we sat out there for almost an hour with her, laying on her side in the back of her vehicle because she couldn't sit down properly. And we were almost ready to say, you know what, fuck it. She's got an appointment with a doctor tomorrow anyway, with wound care. And right as we were getting ready to just, go back home, they called her in. Take us back to her room. They start getting her vitals and everything. And, yeah, we're sitting there just waiting for the doctor. And I realized my phone's about to die. I'm keeping sister apprised of the situation. Well, I've got a phone charging block out in the car. So I go to the nurse station. I asked them, like, hey, is it all right if I go outside to get my phone charger? I don't know how long we're going to be here, and my phone's almost dead. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Okay. So I go out the double doors, go out and back in the parking lot, get my stuff, smoke a cigarette, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I go back in, and I asked them, like, hey, my grandmother is in room so-and-so. How do I get back there? And they look at me like, you don't. I was like, come again? They said, yeah, she's only allowed one visitor. I was like, yeah, that's me. Like, well, once you go out, you can't come back in. I was like, funny, the nurses I talked to didn't say a damn thing about that. So, if looks could kill, there would have been 2 dead receptionists right then. And I think they saw the murderous intent in my eyes, so they went and called the nurses station. Like, oh, well, they didn't call us to let us know you were coming back in. I was like, yeah, funny how that works. And doctor that saw her, he had seen her previously. I guess he had been her primary at one point before switching specialties. So, had a nice little chat with him. Put her on an IV and some antibiotics. Once her blood pressure got back up to normal, they went ahead and discharged her because gave her another prescription for some more antibiotics. So it's just kind of, riding it out, see how things go. But yeah, that first nurse, she was a bitch and a half. I don't know what happened to Bedside Manor. I guess everyone thinks they're just fucking Greg House now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually not partially true, where people see how popular the character is and think, hey, I can be an asshole too.
They just walk in and be like, it's lupus, and then just walk out.
I'd have punched her in the throat. Like, bitch, it's never lupus. Even I know that. Or Wegener's, for that matter.
This is just making me think of the thing that pissed me off the most about nurses when I was an EMT. And that is the phrase, they have MRSA, so they're on droplet precaution. That sounds innocuous to most people, I'm willing to bet. Like, you guys probably don't notice anything wrong about that statement, right?
MRSA, that's antibiotic-resistant staph.
Yep.
So droplet protection, I'm assuming, is kind of the same with like the COOF protocols, not wanting any droplets to spread it.
Droplet precaution is the same with the COOF as well as with, probably the disease that is most well known as droplet precaution is tuberculosis.
Yeah.
So, anyone care to guess what the problem with its MRSA and droplet precaution is?
Nobody wants to do shit with it.
MRSA cannot be droplet precaution. Categorically, cannot be droplet precaution.
Because staph isn't.
Because staph is what is known as a quorum-sensing bacteria. And staph, its particular form of quorum sensing, is it forms a biofilm. Biofilm means that it forms a shell around the bacteria, or around a large enough colony of the bacteria, to the point where it cannot be removed by standard mechanisms. So you have to do very specialized treatment in order to penetrate the biofilm. Effectively, you break down the biofilm, then you treat the disease that is forming the biofilm. Like I said, it cannot, categorically, it cannot be droplet precaution with Staph aureus. So every time that I heard, yeah, they're on, or they have MRSA and they're on droplet precaution, I always had to ask,
Why?
why are they on droplet precaution? Staph aureus can only ever be contact precaution. And I would normally get a, well, I was told that they have Staph aureus, so they're droplet precaution. I'd always have to ask, can I read the doctor's notes? And 9 times out of 10, they would have a droplet precaution disease as well as Staph aureus. Like, they would have, one of the most common is a disease that almost no one has heard of outside of medical care, which is Burkholderia. I'm willing to bet none of you have heard of it. Have you?
I have not.
I can't say that I have, no.
It's my least favorite Daria.
Burkholderia is a extremely common droplet precaution infection. It's one of the... you guys have heard of healthcare infections, right?
Where you end up getting an infection because you went to the hospital or something like that?
Yeah, it's infection.
Kind of like MRSA.
Yep. So it's one of the infections that you get when you're in hospital, because they're common in healthcare settings, not really common in the wild. Burkholderia is one of those infections. So I would find out that someone has Burkholderia, and I'd go, oh, they're on droplet because they have Burkholderia. And then the question that would make me immediately...
What's that?
Judge this nurse in the most severe case is exactly what you just asked. What's that? And I would go, oh, I'm working with an idiot.
Well, that was one of the things that made me
for killing you.
That was one of the things that made me so proud of Nana Campbell tonight. Was she was giving them shit the whole way. This is a woman who's had leukemia since I was in 4th grade. She's been in remission for the better part of my life, but she got diagnosed when I was in 4th grade, right? So we're talking like mid 90s, like 95, 96, somewhere in there, I think. And it's recently come out of remission, and they wanted to do a nose swab for the coof, and she looked up. She goes, "It's not that. I have cancer. Not that. I might possibly have sepsis. Not that." He's like, "Well, we still gotta do it anyway." It's like, fine, waste both of our time. That's right, Kyler. Nana Campbell is indeed a treasure. And if it had been me instead of her in the hospital bed, I'd have been giving him 10 times as much shit. She was just feeling awful. If it were me, I'd been like, "So, how many people in here got horse paste?" Because the doctor that came in and saw her, he did mention, like, "Oh yeah, this whole wing of the emergency room, had people, intubated, and all of them were, coof related." I was sitting there looking at him just dumbfounded. I was like, "So why the fuck are we here?"
And you guys have, of course, heard the response to the article that came out, where it was, "Oh yeah, people have been hospitalized over ODs on that particular drug that I'm..."
Are we talking about the original K4? Are we talking about The Hill, Rolling Stone, Guardian? Which one? You gotta be more specific.
Effectively, yes.
The one that I'm most pissed off with is K4, because that's a local Oklahoma the ABC affiliate.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they only talked to one dude, which apparently
That was what I was just about to refer to. That
well, no, like apparently that doctor had worked in my area at one point in time as well.
Yep.
So, like, they talked to him, and apparently, according to like Facebook groups that he was in, you know, they fucked that story 6 ways from Sunday, because he was not talking about, you know, gunshots, and you know, he was just talking about, you know, emergency rooms are filled up with coof patients. And that's what the doctor here was pretty much saying as well. Like, yeah, we've had a bunch of people in the ER with that.
The way that they phrased it in that original article was they were saying that it was all ODs from the specific drug that we are not naming, pointedly not naming.
Well, here's the great thing about living here. It's like, I called bullshit as soon as I saw the picture that Rolling Stone used.
Yep.
I was like, there's no way in fuck all that a dude is wearing a fucking parka in late August, early September. No fucking way. It's 90 degrees out here. They're not standing in line wearing parkas.
Yep. But yeah, for those who haven't heard, the surgeon that they were I think it was a surgeon, wasn't it?
I don't know if he was a surgeon. I think he was just an MD, just regular old MD. Okay. Yeah, his name's Jason McEllia.
Yeah. The particular doctor that they had referenced in that report had not worked in that system for several months.
Well, he had not worked at the hospital system that released a statement in regards to the story for 2 months.
Which was the one that he referred to.
I believe that was the first thing that came up, like if you searched his name, was that particular hospital system. But he works for like a medical staffing company that contracts out to a bunch of different hospitals. I think there was that Sequoia one where he had worked at their Sallisaw hospital location. Yep. I think he'd also worked at a hospital in Grove. You know, he's bounced around a bunch of different places with this medical staffing company.
But the article specifically mentioned the Sallisaw, if I remember.
That was the response from the hospital system that he had not worked at their Sallisaw hospital location for at least 2 months.
Yep. So the article specifically mentioned Sallisaw, and then Sallisaw came back and went...
Hold on. Pronounce it like an Okie. Sallisaw.
So he had not worked at that facility for 2 months, and he had specifically named it that it had been the one saying that gunshot patients could not be admitted, and that hospital was so outraged that they actually offered a public statement saying, yeah, this doc hasn't even worked here in the past 2 months. He has no fucking clue what the fuck he's saying.
Not only that, but like they hadn't had any ODs from that particular one, and that all of the patients that they had nobody had been turned away from emergency medical care, and you know, all of their patients have been treated medically appropriately in regards to their particular ailments.
Yep. Yeah, so that was a big shot of bullshit that led to ultimately nothing, because it was immediately refuted by the system that he had referred to. And they were rather pissed off that he had thrown them under the bus in that manner. Which
I read the Rolling Stone one.
Absolutely understandable.
I didn't read The Guardian, and I didn't see the original K4 story. But the Rolling Stone one did not mention any hospital that he worked for. They just broadly said rural Oklahoma hospitals.
Okay.
And he was the only medical source named. They didn't have any other sources. But yeah, like as soon as you see the picture that they had, the picture they used was people standing in line for vaccinations.
Yep. Yeah, there was one article...
And again, there was one dude standing in the middle of that picture in a fucking parka.
Yeah, there was one of the articles specifically mentioned the Sawasab. And they...
Do you say Arkansas too?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
So it's Sawasab?
Sal.
Sourasol. Okay. So Sawasab.
You never met anybody named Sal? Salvatore?
In Sol.
It's Salisaw.
Okay, so Salazar.
Close
one
enough.
of the articles specifically mentioned.
We're going to spend another hour on this topic alone.
Yeah, one of the articles specifically mentioned that facility, and that facility was pissed when they saw that they had been brought.
Just don't throw
I mean,
Llewellyn in there.
All else fails, Johnny. I'm just going to blame the French. So
the French should always be blamed for fucking everything.
Now Canada, then France.
Goddamn frog eaters.
But yeah. So it like I said, if it had been me in the bed and not Nana Camel, I'd have been fucking with him so much more. You know, I'd been asking him all about, you know, the horse pace and everything. You know, just you know, start like, you know, hang one foot off the bed, just start counting. You know.
Mm-hmm. Have I told the story about the patient that I transferred when I was an EMT that the hospital beds kept on trying to kill her?
Is this like the 800-pound one?
No, this isn't the 800-pound one. This is the one that their hospital bed spontaneously combusted. Their hospital bed also... You know how hospital beds are scissor jacks?
I'm pretty sure I've seen that episode of CSI.
So,
I don't want to think about scissoring Jack.
God damn it. One of the scissor jack legs of the bed had given out and had just dumped the patient on the floor.
Okay, how fat was she?
Not fat at all. This patient was sub 150 pounds.
Okay, I'm actually surprised by that.
Yeah.
Please tell me it was right up against the window when it happened.
But, the bed kept on trying to kill this woman because it spilled her out onto the floor without sounding the bed alarm. It spontaneously combusted mid-operation. It was just like 12 different things that happened with this bed where it was just, what the fuck? It's trying to kill this patient at this point.
Some final
So at what
destination
point did
shit
she
going on.
realize that God just hated her?
Exactly. It was that sort of situation where you're going, okay, I am just meant to fucking die at this point.
Or the bed was evil, like in the movie Deathbed, the bed that eats.
Yes.
It's just like, why, God? Why? Just hear
Because-
the booming
yeah.
voice. Because something about you just pisses me off.
I shit you not, the bed spontaneously combusted. She was on the bed, and the bed burst into flames.
Did you at least figure out how that happened?
I mean, was she like a woman of means? Did she have some long lost nephew, like hire a hitman or something?
No,
I have
goddamn
questions.
clue.
I'd have a lot of questions.
I showed up to transport this woman, and the hospital staff told me when I showed up, by the way, this woman's bed keeps on trying to kill her. And I asked what, and they went, well, it burst into flames during one of the times that she was on it. It also suddenly, half the scissor jack broke, and she was dumped onto the floor without the alarm sounding.
Hold on, now was this you telling them, or was this them telling you?
This was them telling me about.
Okay,
all
did you
the
ask
shit
them at
this
any
bed
point,
had
like,
happened.
did you guys think about maybe, I don't know, getting her a different fucking bed?
This was the fourth bed that she was on.
Oh, so God really did hate her. Okay, never mind.
It was every bed that she had been given tried to kill her in an interesting fashion. Because it was like the first bed was the one that burst into flames. The second bed dumped her out onto the floor by just the bottom half of the scissor jack snapping so it went at like a 45-degree angle and just sloughed her off onto the floor.
Do you guys
Just
try like
reminds
putting
me
her in
of,
one of those hospital recliners or something instead? I mean, like a love seat? I don't know.
One of the other beds decided to go really interesting, and you know how if you're held upside down, eventually you suffocate? Yeah, the hospital bed had broken so that the feet remained really high and the torso went down, but it didn't go down enough that she sloughed off the bed. It just went down enough that it depressed her breathing.
Oh God.
Oh, jeez.
The third bed burned down, fell over, then sank into the swamp. But the fourth one stayed up.
That was the story I was given, effectively. It was that fucking speech, minus the she has huge tracts of land.
My question is, how many people had to die in like some Final Destination nightmare so this woman could live?
Oh, it was just this bed kept on, or these beds, rather, kept on trying to kill this woman. So
So it's like
no
maximum
one else-
overdrive for beds.
Yeah. It was, the beds had something out for this woman. I have no clue what the fuck, because the woman caused no problems the entire transport. But the beds had it out for this fucking woman.
I'm gonna tell that lady to sell her story to Stephen King. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I'd ever be able to get a good night's sleep again after that.
He'd name it something weird like the Sleepies.
Well, yeah.
Because
I gotta be honest, I never really read Stephen King. I just watched the movies.
Stephen King never names what he's talking about with the name that's appropriate for it. So, oh, you have precognitive abilities? That's The Shining. What?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, sell this woman's story to Stephen King, get him all hopped up on cocaine, let him direct a second movie. Let's see how this plays out.
I do have to admit, I love the pettiness of Stephen King when it came to the vehicle that almost killed him. And he decided, I'm just going to write a book about this.
Wait,
I'm going to turn that dude into an absolute asshole in the book I write about him.
which book was this? Again, I only watched the movies.
Christine.
Yeah, it was Christine, if I remember correctly.
Wait,
But
that was that long ago?
yeah, he was almost killed in a hit and run.
I thought him getting run over was more recent than that.
No, it was old.
Are you sure? Because I swear he got run over like in my lifetime.
Might have been enough of an asshole that he got run over multiple times.
I thought there was like an accident. He was like walking along the road and somebody like hit him. You know, not accidentally, not I didn't realize that was Christine. Huh.
Yeah.
Good movie. Good movie.
I think it was Christine that it was. But yeah, he got hit by a vehicle and he decided, you know what, I'm just going to absolutely sling mud in literary form.
I have to admit, my favorite of the Stephen King books that have been made in, or stories that have been made in movies is Maximum Overdrive.
Mhm.
Because he was so high, he decided to direct that one.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
I couldn't afford the soundtrack, so I'll just have AC/DC do it.
Yep. There's so many weird Stephen King movies. Like, everyone loves It until they remember that there was a child orgy in It. Or
That's why
not really a
I
child
like.
orgy, there was a child train run on one girl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for an orgy, I mean, it's yeah.
You need
it's gonna
more
be-
holes for an orgy.
Yeah. Well, like that's I like the was it 94 when they did the one with Seth Green and all them. You know,
And-
Tim Curry as Pennywise.
Yeah, Tim Curry.
As far as I'm concerned, that is the only It. I'm not interested in seeing the new one, but I have to admit it does not hold up very well. Because I found out like my mother had never seen It. I was like, "How have you not seen this? I've watched this a million times. You've never watched it once?
Mm-hmm.
What's you never sat down once when I was a kid and watched it? Why did you let me watch it? But you've never seen it. You know?
And speaking of movies that do not hold up well, I see people in chat saying that The Langoliers was one of their favorites. The Langoliers, when you try to watch it now,
Is that
childhood scribbles trying to eat time?
Wait, so that's not the one with the flight of people?
Oh, that is the one with the flight of people.
Oh.
But then there's the childhood scribbles that are the villains, or the,
Oh, because I think I remember. Was it David Morse in that one? I think Spud Gun's the one who said it was good. Maybe he remembers. But I always liked that dude as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Ron Perlman is the B-movie badass and Jeremy Irons is the B-movie villain. I don't know why Jeremy Irons is relegated to B-movie villain, because Jeremy Irons
I never thought of
fucking act.
I never thought of Jeremy Irons as being a B-movie villain. I always thought of Mike. Was it Michael? Is it Ironside or is it Irons?
I thought it was
Ironside,
Jeremy Irons.
Well, Jeremy Irons is the one that played Alfred in the Batflick movie.
Yeah.
Michael is it Ironside or
I
Irons?
think you think of Ironside.
Am I
Yeah.
confusing them? Wasn't it Jeremy Irons was the villain in the D&D movie?
Yes, yes.
I didn't see the
Think
D&D
so.
movie. Michael
But-
Ironside though, he was one of the instructors in Top Gun. He was
True.
Jester. That's the one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jeremy
And he-
Irons is great.
He was the bad guy in Heavy Metal 2000 the movie.
True. And like I said, Ron Perlman is the B-movie badass, because the number of B-movies that have had Ron Perlman as their skullcracker, oh god. It would take time to name all of them.
Yeah, I still say that Jeremy Irons has the best voice of any actor.
I mean, he's definitely up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Though I'd say hands down the best actor currently has to be the fucking chameleon himself.
Gary Oldman.
Because Gary
Of
Oldman,
course, yeah.
Yeah, Gary Oldman is the only actor to that level of acting. You will watch an entire movie where Gary Oldman is one of the central fucking characters, and someone will go, Gary Oldman was in that movie, and you'll go, no, he fucking wasn't, and then you'll look up the IMDb, and you'll go, holy shit! Where the fuck? Wait, Gary Oldman was that? Holy shit!
But yeah, see, like I'm afraid to go back and watch Maximum Overdrive now because I haven't watched that since I was a kid either.
It's just as bad as it was then.
I know, but when I was a kid, it was so bad it was good. That's how I felt about it. It's like, oh man, I didn't think it was necessarily a good horror movie. I just thought, Tim Curry as an evil clown was cool. And then I went back and watched it like a couple years ago, and it's like, oh, this is not how I remember it.
Yeah, Tim Curry is damn near anything as an entertainer.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, it was it and Clue.
Yep.
Those were like my go-to Tim Curry movies as a kid.
And Fern Gully.
Yep.
Well, I meant like actually seeing Tim Curry, not just a voice
National
acting role.
Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
See, I didn't remember him being in that. I remember Emilio and Sam Jackson.
He was also the hotel staff member.
He was William
in
Shatner's right-hand man.
Home Alone 2.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah.
Tim Curry is just ridiculously entertaining to watch.
And it's sad that he had a stroke.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when they did like the they did a deal of Rocky Horror Picture Show on Fox.
Yep.
And my mom, she was excited to see it because she liked the original. And I got to sit down and watch that with her, and they had Laverne Cox playing Tim Curry's role. And I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Who's Laverne Cox?
That's the transgender actress from Orange is the New Black.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know who that is. Yeah, but, well, I mean, you can't have a straight person play a transvestite,
But
even if they are a much better actor, yeah.
Here's one of the things that drives me crazy. Do you guys all remember when transvestite and transsexual were a different thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I am actually old enough to remember that. You know, the crying game was transsexual. You know, the dudes you saw, you know, doing drag shows and stuff, those were transvestites.
Yeah, you had transvestites.
And then there's Sleepaway Camp.
Goddamn Sleepaway Camp.
I hope you're talking about the movie and not your Sleepaway Camp.
I
Six of one, half dozen the other. But yeah, you had the transvestites who were just blokes that like dressing like women. And then you had the transsexuals.
Twisted Sister, transvestites.
Yeah. You had the blokes that thought that they were or wanted to be women, and those would be the transsexuals. Whereas the ones who just, like dresses. I still am a man. I want to fuck women, but I like dresses. They're fucking nice. Those were the transvestites. I miss when we had the designation. Because there's a difference between blokes that just like to dress as women and people
blokes that want to be women.
Yeah, blokes that want to be women, or blokes that feel like there was a brain-body disconnect. And that's a bit of research that I still say needs to be resurrected. Because you guys know there was research looking into the brain chemistry and brain structures between men and women, right?
I mean, I assumed there was. I never really looked into it.
Yeah, there was a fair bit of research done into it. And the research, the bits that they had confirmed was that men and women had different brain structures. And the other thing that they were hinting at, but needed additional research to look into, was that it seemed as though transsexuals had a brain-body disconnect. And what I mean by a brain-body disconnect is that transsexual women, if you want to phrase it that way, so men that felt like they should be women, had the brain chemistry of a woman, while the body chemistry of a man. The inverse was also true. Women that were transsexual had the brain chemistry of a man and the body chemistry of a woman, which was a fantastic bit of research because once you narrow it down to, there's a brain-body disconnect, then it becomes, okay, so you have two solutions. Well, technically three solutions, but two primary, one tertiary. Or at least one secondary, because primary and secondary. So the two primaries are you can either get the brain in line with the body, or you can get the body in line with the brain. Everyone acknowledges that, right?
Yes.
Seems to make sense so far, yeah.
The secondary is you work on both to bring them as in line with each other as you possibly can. So that's kind of acknowledging that you might not be able to get 100% the brain in line with the body, and you might not be able to get 100% body in line with the brain. But what you can do is work them both towards a central point and get them good enough.
Yeah.
So that gives a clear solution to people that are suffering from gender dysmorphia, as it was dubbed in the DSM-4. It's no longer dubbed that way in the DSM-5. But it gave not only a test to see if someone was transgender, but also a solution to how to handle it. Because we currently aren't able to alter the brain sufficiently in order to bring the brain in line with the body. So we could try to adapt the body in line with the brain, but ideally you would end up doing both. That secondary solution of brain moving towards body and body moving towards brain, meet in that middle point, done and dusted, good to go. Everyone understands this, right?
Go.
But then you had a bunch of people, it was effectively the feminists at the time that were trying to say that there was absolutely no difference between men and women, that killed that bit of research. They made that bit of research absolutely toxic, so that anyone that was trying to look into that bit of research would be shunned by academia. And that was unbelievably damaging. Because with that bit of research, you suddenly have an ability to diagnose people. You suddenly have an ability to go, okay, you're saying that you feel like the opposite sex. This brain scan confirms that you feel like you're of the opposite sex. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring your brain as in line with your body as we can, and we're going to bring your body as in line with your brain as we possibly can. So we'll perform the surgeries that are needed, as well as having you go to therapy in order to kind of meet in that middle ground, where we do as little harm as we possibly can. And that would be brilliant. Because then, if we got that research done, and we did the subsequent research that would be needed to make sure that these brain structures are consistent over time, I doubt there would be many people that have problems with the idea of transition of someone that we have concrete evidence due to the research that, yeah, if they start having these brain structures by, let's say, the age of 12, that they will have these brain structures for life. I doubt there'd be very many people that would go, well, should we really treat a 12-year-old with these conditions? No, because everyone would be going, yeah, we have the evidence. These conditions are concrete. They don't really change over time. So let's give the treatment to the people that we know need the treatment, and not fuck with the people that we don't have any evidence for. So you would have a lot more people getting the treatment that they need as long as they meet that requirement, which is a standard fucking diagnosis. You don't get the meds for strep throat unless you test positive for strep throat.
But what if I really, really want the meds, Sanguine?
Well, that's effectively what Spudgun just said. They can't let that be proved one way or the other because it kills the grift. And yeah, it absolutely kills the grift, and it absolutely kills the I just want it logic, because I just want it is not actually logic. It's completely devoid of logic. So what you do is you have to sort those people out. Because it's kind of like how you have a certain percent of the population that goes, well, I don't feel like I should have 2 arms.
Or I feel like I should be blind, so
Yep.
I'm going to pour chemicals in my eyes so that way I can be blind.
Yep. And then you also have the...
Or I'm a furry who wants paws, so I'm going to stick my hands in dry ice so I can get them amputated.
Yep.
I'm just hearing a lot of trans-ableism here.
Can someone clip Camel saying he's a furry?
Oh, fuck you, Frosted.
Soon enough.
I guess I figured, it's going to happen eventually. Somebody's going to eventually clip me. Lord knows I've done it enough times.
It's
Live by the clip, die by the clip. I accept that.
It's far enough after Anthrocon that you probably aren't in that con slump, so there probably won't be many people clipping that right now.
I think the best clip so far is of Quiz, where it was comic book curation, and they were talking about like Jewish foods, and
oh yeah,
they were talking about one particular food, and Quiz is talking about how he hates that food, and so out of context, it's just Quiz saying, "I dated a Jewish girl and it was disgusting."
I like the one I've got of Monkey, where he was talking about his streaming addiction, and I just typed in chat like a fake quote, like let me stream and I'll suck your dick, and he went ahead and said it. I was like, oh, I'm definitely clipping that now.
And yeah, to respond to Spud Gun in chat, yes, there's a sizable majority. And when I say sizable majority, I can't remember the stat off the top of my head. I want to say it was somewhere in the range of like 85% of people that end up saying that they're trans when they're very young, and emphasis on very young, end up actually being just gay.
Oh yeah, it is a ridiculously large percentage.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 85% that are in that camp of they're just gay. But because there's this emphasis of if you don't feel right in your skin, then you're clearly trans, it makes a lot of them say that they're trans. Whereas if you just left them to puberty, they would go, oh no, I just like sucking dick.
And then
I realize that's probably
all right, now you gotta clip that.
Well, I mean, also, wasn't there like a string of like autistic girls that they were trying to convince they were trans because they were on the spectrum?
Yep.
And it's like, well, you don't fit in with the girls. You seem more like more interested in guy things. Of course that couldn't possibly be because of autism. You must be trans. So they start getting these autists on a bunch of hormone therapies and stuff.
And for those who don't know much about autism and Asperger's, which is a archaic version of referring to high functioning autism now due to the fucking DSM-5, which I'm still salty about because Asperger's syndrome had enough variants that it should be its own thing.
Oh, just wait until number 6, Sanguine. I'm sure that'll just make things so much better.
I'm positive that they will screw the pooch on that. But as someone who has, or I would phrase more accurately, suffers from Asperger's in the DSM-4, there's enough variants that it should be its own thing. And the DSM-5, a fair chunk of the DSM-5 is political. The DSM-4 was less so because the DSM-5, if I remember correctly, removed gender dysphoria because they didn't want to have transgenderism be considered a
mental
disorder. Which, that's bullshit. You don't just remove something because
I would imagine if they just put that back to where it was considered a mental disorder, people would be a lot more accepting of it.
Yeah. Like I said, if they did the research to get the diagnostic test where you're able to go, hey, people that display this symptom, this brain-body disconnect, at this age are, let's say, just for the strength of argument, 98% likely to maintain this throughout their life, a lot more people would be going, oh yeah, we should help those. We should help the people that are like that through the method that is the most reasonable, which would be that combo of both therapeutic as well as surgical interventions. But the idea that, well, gender's just a social construct. Okay, so it's a social construct. That means that the solution is social. Because you don't do a medical solution to a social condition. Like, you aren't going, well, they get bullied a lot, so let's just do a surgical intervention in order to make them not bullied as much. No, you don't fucking do that. because you realize social problems deserve social solutions. Medical problems deserve medical solutions. There's a fucking difference.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Exactly. But yeah, you use the proper approach to the proper problem, and shit actually gets sorted out.
Plus, you can weed out the trenders that way.
Exactly. If you have a diagnostic test, then the trenders would not be able to just will themselves to pass the diagnostic.
What is this efficiency you're talking about?
It's one of the, or it should be one of the guiding principles of just doing shit in general.
Well, I am starting to fade, and it is 2 hours and 12 minutes in, so let's start with parting thoughts.
Fair enough.
I'll go first, since I'm the last man in.
All right.
Before I hopped on stream, I stopped at my local corner store to get some cigarettes, and I got ID'd. And that's how I know I'm getting old, because I wasn't mad about it. I was actually kind of flattered.
Quick, someone push him over and see if it's funny.
Well, I'm not that old yet, so I'm sure you guys would still get a laugh.
Depends on how hard you hit.
Yeah.
Oh, but fallen and I can't get up.
Quick, somebody call C. Everett Koop. Oh shit, I am getting old.
All right, Frosted.
I just want to congratulate Camel on being stunning and brave enough to admit he's a furry.
Terry.
Everyone push over Camel. Apparently it's still funny.
Just so you know, camel tipping is a hate crime.
Well, you just said that it was still funny, but now it's a hate crime. So hate crimes are funny?
Always.
Yeah.
Have you not been on
sometimes they're
Twitter?
downright hilarious.
Have you not been
Yeah.
on Twitter, Sanguine?
Nice.
I mean, the whole thing that happened to Jussie Smollett, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Nathan Phillips, damn near laughed my
no
dick
one.
off.
See, the main comical aspect of Jussie Smollett is just the fact that his name is fucking Jussie Smollett. Fuck
Can
names
we
a
just
child
call him
Jussie?
Jesse? Can we just call him Jesse?
I think, was it Dave Chappelle said he doesn't have the right to the U anymore? His
Yeah.
name is just Jesse.
No, see, Jesse is a name that can be respectable. He needs to maintain the Jussie.
Oh, okay.
Because
Juicy
who the
Smollier.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Who the fuck is going to respect Juicy? No one's going to respect Juicy.
They don't respect
Everyone's
them.
going to be going, what the fuck is wrong with their name? Were your parents retarded?
They don't respect the pants that share the name.
Exactly.
And Sanguine?
I'll leave off with my cider. If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
I didn't steal it this time.
And I will go with the trust of the innocent is a liar's most useful tool.
Very nice.
That is a Stephen King quote,
Ah.
apparently. I looked it up. Well, on that, the zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Have
See
a
you
good
later,
night.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
Well,